Yes, I am having coffee in a beer mug because it's the end of the day and I'm tired. Okay. Did you guys know that there is apparently a fan war going on between K drama and J drama viewers on the question of which version of Marry My Husband is superior, the original or the new currently airing J drama version? And honestly, both have their strengths. I won't lie, the cracktastic experience of watching Marry My Husband, the K drama version, has been really hard to imitate. It was followed up within a few months by Lovely Runner, which also had a certain addictive quality to it. But I haven't seen any other drama with that kind of retention. Yes, Love Scout was pretty popular, but it didn't have that certain something. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? And the J drama version of Marry My Husband also doesn't have that certain something. However, it is a very compelling watch. And a part of me is enjoying this version in a far more relaxed way than I was enjoying the K drama original. I keep saying K drama original, but we need to also straighten that up. It's not the original. There was a web novel version from which a webtoon version was adapted, and then finally came your K drama original. And that IP has, of course, been sold to various other places. There are at least two Chinese vertical dramas. Do you guys know what Chinese vertical dramas are? They are these 2 3 minute long episode dramas, which have like 80 to 100 episodes. So basically, they are like 2 hour movies broken up into 2 3 minutes per episode. And they always seem to feature these really over the top Mark Chung plot lines that appeal to women, especially because it's all about the unfairness of women's life in a domestic setting or in work life. And they manage to prevail because they are smart and they are kind and they are beautiful and they have the love of whoever is the richest and most powerful person around. It's very 1980s, but also it is so telling that these stories are so very popular today, and not just in China and Chinese social media where these low budget dramas are made for, but on Western social media like YouTube, because that's where I found them. The music has been ripped out and it's clearly pirated copies or maybe uploaded by the original creators. They don't seem like official accounts, but who knows? And they have absurdly high view counts. Anyway, so yeah, Marry My Husband has not one but two such Chinese vertical dramas based on them because it has all of those tropes. A faithful, good hearted woman who's being ill treated by her mother in law, by her husband, has been betrayed by her best friend, goes back in time and sets everything right, has new friends, new clothes, a brand new boyfriend who's richer and better than, her ex husband. It has all of the tropes. And listen, as somebody who enjoyed watching Marry My Husband a lot, this is not me being judgmental towards myself or other people. I am just observing how interesting it is that these storylines manage to feel as addictive as they do. But enough of that. Let's talk about the adaptation versus the original. Here we're going to call the K-drama version the original because as far as screen adaptation goes, it is. And the Japanese version as the adaptation. Okay, with that said, which one's better? I genuinely don't know. Like I said, the original had this cracktastic thing
내 남편과 결혼해줘.
where you couldn't wait till the next episode to come out. The J drama version has that because, of course, like the way the story is written, you can't wait till the next episode. But I am not having withdrawal symptoms, so I think this is a far more balanced storytelling. When the K drama version was airing, that was all I was watching. But with this version, I don't have that addictive compulsion. On the flip side, I genuinely think that the J drama version is written far better. Not in terms of audience retention, because the writers of the original were very motivated to bring you back with like the best cliffhangers and shocking revelations and just how vile could these people be? Just everything was basically written to get the maximum reaction out of you, the maximum emotional resonance. The G drama version, on the other hand, is a lot more thoughtful. Like, they don't just tell the same story, they want you to think through the protagonist's actions as the protagonists themselves are introspecting and figuring out what is different in the second timeline. Okay, let's introduce the characters. Ji-won is Misa here. Ji-hyuk is Suzuki Wataru. He's called Suzuki by most of the people in the drama, so I will probably also end up calling him Suzuki. Sumin is Reina. Minhwan is Tomoya. Right off the bat, from the first minutes of the drama, the adaptation feels more lived in than the original. The original was so set to make us feel like Ji-won's character was the most pathetic, the most abused, just the worst of most horribly treated woman possible, that I didn't seem to really care about building out her current world. Like, at that point where she is sick, there is nothing really rooting her to that world. Her father has passed away a long time back. Aside from her friend Sumin, and her terrible, miserable husband Minhwan, there's really nothing else that is tethering her to her world. Misa, on the other hand, she's also in the same situation. She is in a hospice and she doesn't expect to survive her illness, but she is forming connections with people around her. She has a grandmother she wants to leave her life insurance money for. And even small things like she takes a day off to go back home, for which she has asked for permission from the hospice. It's just like these small lived in things that immediately make you feel anchored to that time. I didn't realize how much I missed that in the original. The other thing that the drama takes care of, something that I had complained about at length in this video, is that the drama's punishment for Sumin at the hands of Ji-won seemed disproportional to what Sumin had done. Sumin was a childhood friend who was malicious and had definitely betrayed her friend in many ways, even before she slept with her friend's husband. But I somehow don't see a death penalty being a proportional punishment for those things. Cutting such a person out of your life seems like the right way to go. And hey, if you can give them a taste of their own medicine, that's great, but not maybe a death sentence. And Ji-won seemed to really not have a problem with pushing her down that lane. Like, as soon as there was a chance Sumin was going to escape, she would grab Sumin's neck and put her back on the lane. And Ji-won displayed really not much conflict for doing so. And anytime she showed a hint of some turbulence inside her, she would either be sitting in her apartment's corridor and telling herself, well, thank God they are so bad that I don't have to feel guilty about this. Or Ji-hyuk would prop up and be like, it's because you're so nice that you're feeling bad, but they don't deserve it. You have done everything right. You're doing everything right now.
덜 못돼서 그래. 상대에게 일부러 상처 줄 정도로 못되지 못해서 그래. 지원 씨는 할 일을 한 거야.
No remorse or confusion on the path of the mission is allowed. It was a very weird morality tale in the original. The adaptation till now has just aired 4 out of 10 episodes, so it's perfectly possible that it might end up going in the same direction. I don't know. I always hesitate to make a video about good first halves before the drama has finished airing because they very often do sour. But I am going to take that risk this time. Mostly because I just want to talk about the good changes that I've noticed and a couple of changes that seem a bit iffy to me, and I wonder if I will have answers by the end. So, amongst the good changes is that the writing seems to see this flaw, the complete absence of moral confusion by our apparently kind hearted good protagonist. And they solve it in two ways. The first is that Reina is the primary murderer in this tale, which immediately wipes out my objection about proportionality of punishment because, hey, if she killed you, yes, you can kill her. That's fine. That's allowed. Because before this, it seemed to fall into that trope where women target the mistress instead of dealing directly with the husband. We know why in stories and in real life that has largely been the case because it's harder to throw away your husband, whereas it's easier to malign and try to harm the other woman. It is very much a patriarchal setup that we have to consciously break out of. But anyway, I don't love that trope. If she's the murderer, though, then yeah, Jiwon slash Misa absolutely gets to go back in time and plot her murder. The second way that they are addressing the moral quandary is by letting Misa show more introspection and self-awareness. Misa is figuring out the rules more slowly than Jiwon had. Like she, of course, very quickly figures out that what had happened in the first timeline will continue to happen again unless she supplies the replacement. She understands that. But on the other hand, she doesn't understand the depth and the ferocity of that rule. Like if through small changes she diverges far enough and thinks that she is safe from the rule, the cruelty of this rule is that it will find a way of dragging her back into the original plotline unless she has supplied a suitable replacement. And that is what we end episode 4 on. And I found this so interesting because the first drama didn't do that. Like it didn't play with the rules enough. The rule was there. It was this malevolent presence, but Jiwon didn't ever seem to interact with the rule that way. Like, she figured out the rule was there, she acknowledged it, and then just decided to use the rule to have her revenge and obviously save herself and her friends, but never really felt the absolute harshness of what this rule means. Misa, sometime after she has come back into her timeline, she has made other friends. She's distancing herself from Reina a little bit. And even though she has planned to slowly have Tomoyo and Reina fall in love with each other and hand her fate over to Reina, she hasn't fully committed to that yet. And at one point, something happens. She reaches the end of her patience and she breaks up with Tomoyo at a point of time where Tomoyo is not in love with Reina, and that replacement has not happened. And so the rule reminds her in a violent way that there is no escaping the timeline. I genuinely enjoyed that so much. I got goosebumps. I don't remember feeling like this because I am mad fond of time travel, any kind of paradox that you put into this kind of sci-fi. But if you have established a rule, you need to play a little with the rule. Otherwise, why do you have it? Do you just want to have it as a deus ex machina, which is what the K-drama version seemed to use it as? It only cropped up to help erase any doubts Jiwon had about her path, but never seemed to really shake her up. But it never seemed to give her a real existential crisis. And because the Japanese version has done it, I now realize how effectively this rule can be used. I completely understand that this is probably the only instance that I will see something like this happening. They are, after all, following the same general storyline, so it's highly unlikely that the J-drama version will keep being innovative. But so far, I honestly have been impressed by the changes. Let's talk about the characters. So, Misa, like I said, is easily more introspective and self aware than Kang Ji-won was, but it's not shown in obvious ways. Instead, what the drama does is that they have Misa recognize that there were times she could have made different choices, but she went along with a toxic friend, bore her humiliation, laughed it off, believed her friend when she said that Tomoyo was the best she could do, believed Tomoyo when he said that she didn't really deserve him, but he was basically just making do with her. She was surrounded by people who kept denigrating her, and she didn't have it in her at the time to protest or even recognize that what they were saying was wrong. Her self image was so distorted from years of emotional abuse from her friend, but also some people just generally have low self esteem. I had low self esteem as a teenager. It took me years to get myself out of that mindset, so I recognize it and I understand it. I recognized it in G1, but it didn't feel like her character was acknowledging that in her first timeline she did have agency to make different choices, but Misa does. She recognizes that the choices she made were bad ones, and she doesn't just villainize Reina and Tomoyo. Like, they are the villains of the story, but they aren't defining characters in her life story, if that makes sense. Like, she is far more willing to institute changes by herself without the help of others. And this is borne out in several ways. Like, something I didn't enjoy about G1's makeover was that it was mostly done at the behest of her younger colleague, who was also the sister of her future boyfriend Ji Hyuk. In this situation, yes, that younger colleague helps her get a, fresh haircut, but Misa doesn't just go from dowdy to haute couture. She goes shopping like a normal person to normal stores, thrift stores even, and just buys the things that she likes. The first thing that she does all by herself is throw out every single piece of garment that she had bought, which had been recommended by Reina. Not just garments, but decorations around her apartment. Once everything had been thrown out, she realizes how few things in her life had been chosen by just her, that had been selected according to her own tastes, which is why she wants to go out shopping. Like I said, all of her developments are rooted in her as a person and her recognition that different choices could have been made. And now that she has the chance, she's making them. It's not all revenge focused and blaming every single thing that happens on Min Hwan and Sumin, which is kind of the vibe that I got from the first drama. They are side characters in her journey of self-actualization. Unfortunately, because of the rule, she can't quite kick them out of her life. So even though she's making changes in her life and she's making new friends who are pointing out that these people are not good for you, she can't tell them everything that's happening. So she has to keep her friendship with Reina to a certain extent. She has to continue her relationship with Tomoyo to a certain extent. And she hates every minute and she's trying to figure out a way out of it, but she is also determined to do it by herself. There is this one point where Suzuki Wataru, which is our Ji Hyuk, tells her, I am here, basically letting her know that he can see the situation. He can see that she is stuck in a bad relationship and a bad friendship, and he wants to offer help. But Misa turns to him and says, if I rely on someone else to do this for me, things will always be the same. And it's not that Suzuki doesn't run to her rescue pretty soon after. He does. But I liked what that said about Misa. She is already a changed person because her dependence on Reina and her dependence on Tomoya and their opinions was kind of what had gotten her stuck in that miserable life. She is already a changed person because she refuses to rely on someone stronger who's come along. So, yeah, I immediately really like Misa as a character far more than Jiwon. She was a lot of fun to watch in that drama. Like, I started off this video by saying that that was a level of cracktastic. This one just isn't. But as a person, I like Misa a lot more. The next person I want to talk about is Suzuki Wataru. Suzuki is, how shall I put it? He has his own interests and a personality. Two things that immediately makes him superior to Yuji Hyuk, who was this helper automaton come to life just to back Jiwon up in her machinations. Naino is actually a really good actor. So my assumption is that he was given terrible directing during Marry My Husband. And here's the thing. If you ask people who have really enjoyed Marry My Husband but also watched Perfect Marriage Revenge, they will probably tell you that they enjoyed the romance in Perfect Marriage Revenge way more than Marry My Husband. And the reason for that was Perfect Marriage Revenge had Sung-hoon. And the chemistry between the leads in that drama was, well, miles higher than what Park Min-young had with Nainu. But with Suzuki and Misa, I kind of see that corrected. For one thing, these two are actually having romantic development in that, they go 2 steps forwards, they become friends. Misa starts wondering, why is this very rich person paying me so much attention, and gets suspicious of his motives. They go 2 steps back. She realizes she understands a bit more of his personality. They have more conversations. There is other conflict which gets resolved. They move a little more forward, but basically there is this back and forth. And also when the two of them talk to each other, they seem to like each other, not just in the halo of romance way, but like as two people, they seem to like each other when they talk to each other, which I didn't realize was something that you actually had to build into the script. I should have, but apparently I need to see adaptations side by side to realize that these things need to exist in a romance for it to be enjoyable. You guys already know there are going to be spoilers here. But this is one that is a little more speculation because episode 5 hasn't aired yet. I initially thought that in the J-drama version, they are not going to have Suzuki also be from the future. Because the way Suzuki's character had been introduced, it seemed like he was still living his first life. And honestly, it worked for the story. But by the end of episode 4, we already had a couple of hints that he knows that this is her repeated life, and the only way he would know that this is her repeated life is if he was also repeating his life. I have to admit, I don't like that. I kind of wish they had changed it, because the idea that the male lead dies soon after the female lead to follow her back in the past so he can be the helpmate is just somehow not very interesting to me. I know why it's done. Theoretically, it's done so that both of them have suffered through the same thing. They don't, she doesn't have to convince him that she's come from the future. He already knows. Plus, then he would remember that entire first timeline where he had pined for her and then watched her die. And now that he has come back, his sole motivation will be to, be with her. Yes, okay, I get it. But somehow so much more interesting if in this life, Misa making different choices means that she notices Suzuki in her second life, and that she grows close with him, not because he's also a time traveler, but simply because he was always open to being close to her, but she wasn't the kind of person who would have found him approachable or had the courage to have a friendship with someone in his position. The fact that she's a changed person now could have opened up that relationship. I honestly would have enjoyed that more. Let me see. Again, the way the original had done Minhwan and Sumin, how malicious the story had made these two, casting, the character map, the motivations, those two created some evil kind of magic in the original, which I don't think Reina and Tomoyo will do in this one. Tomoyo has less of a malevolent energy and more of an idiot on steroids. He does have bursts of violence, but it doesn't feel the way Min Hwan's did in the first one. Of course, Min Hwan did kill her in the first one, so yeah, that may be why the change feels more drastic. But genuinely, just the chemistry between Reina and Tomoyo simply doesn't feel the same way. Reina also doesn't have Sumin's overt sweetness, like that sweetness that was just like a clingy, clawing thing that could also switch to making her seem extremely vulnerable in moments. The actress playing Reina is just more outwardly evil. And again, for the story, it works fine. But yes, the original Minhwan and Sumin, aside from their evil romantic energy, also had individual charm and magnetism, which Tomoyo and Reina don't quite live up to. Again, it is not affecting my enjoyment at all. I think they are far more than adequate. They are doing a really good job in their roles. Their roles simply haven't been written the way the original villains had been written. And there are benefits to that in the J-drama version. Like, there is this original scene in the J-drama where Reina is trying to flirt with Suzuki. They are driving back from a work trip and she's alone in a car with him. She's trying to flirt with him, but also trying to win his sympathy by casting Misa as the villain of the piece. And Suzuki is just listening apparently sympathetically at first until he suddenly switches mode and calls Reina out on what she's doing. Reina just flips out. She nearly crashes the car. She storms out. Then she does, I'm not going to spoil the scene. She just does a moment of high drama, which is very enjoyable stuff. But Sumin wouldn't have done it. Not the same way. She simply wouldn't have reacted that way. That explosion of emotion was not something you expected from her. From this Reina, you do. Tomoyo being a really big L loser is also more suitable to this version of the story. Tomoyo being someone who is, yes, narcissistic, selfish, but not violent to the extent that Min Hwan was, makes the story make more sense when you consider that Misa doesn't immediately break things off with him. Now, again, I am a little conflicted about this because I like the fact that when Ji-won came back in time, she realized that she was so financially mixed up with Min Hwan's debts that she couldn't easily, drop her job, move to another city and cut all contact. She couldn't do it because she didn't have the money. So she had to slowly build up a plan to escape. This is very realistic. We immediately understand that because that's how survivors have to figure out how to escape abusive relationships. In Misa's case, though, she is not financially enmeshed with Tomoyo. She is a salary woman who has a bit of savings. She is not really well off, but she is not encumbered with somebody else's debt either. There is really no reason right off the bat why she doesn't try to break things off with Tomoyo. She does it at a far later point and immediately faces repercussions for it. But I do feel like it would have made more sense if she had tried to break things off with him before. But then again, I will give the drama this because honestly, I don't have too many nitpicks. This is the one thing that I feel is a little not well fleshed out. But by the end of the drama, it might make sense. Let me see. Sometimes some things don't quite come together until the entire story has been told. Okay, yeah, so I think that's it. Those were my impressions of the first 4 episodes of the J-drama adaptation of Marry My Husband. I don't know if I'll do another video when this drama ends. I usually don't unless things have gone awfully wrong somehow or they have gone really, really well. Like they have exceeded expectations. It's unlikely that I'm going to do a wrap up video. What I can do is once the drama is over, I can write a comment below and pin it so that, I don't know, if you're watching this 6 months later, you get an idea of how the show ends, like what my thoughts are on the final stuff. Yeah, that's about it. My dog has been barking incessantly for half an hour because I left him upstairs to record this video, but only because his hip is hurting. He's not supposed to be going up and down several times a day. But yes, I've clearly committed a crime, so now I need to go do penance. Tell me what you guys thought about this drama. I apologize for taking a while to put out this video. I was trying to be regular and then work life interceded, and I would end each day looking like, you know, those heroines who are so tired that they have to be taken to the hospital to give IV drips. I look like how they should look before they're taken to the hospital to get IV drips. Yeah, and I didn't think I needed to scare anybody else, so I was avoiding making videos. Hopefully things will be a little easier, what touch, from now onwards. And if they are, then you will see more of me. Okay, bye.